into something interesting. Today we're looking into Cane Corsos as police dogs.
Cane Corsos as police dogs? Now there's a thought.
Right. You see German Shepherds all the time, but Cane Corsos, not so much. So what makes people think they could even be police dogs?
Well, what do we need in a police dog? Strength, intelligence, loyalty, being protective. Cane Corsos have all that naturally, so they're actually well suited for some parts of law enforcement.
So they're strong, but can you train them to handle police work?
Definitely. A lot of that comes from their history.
Oh, yeah?
They're descended from Roman war dogs, bred for centuries for not just size and strength, but brains, too.
Wow, so like they were bred to think on their feet.
Exactly. They were partners in the field, had to respond in tough situations. That's still in their DNA.
So they already have some of the skills needed. What a head start.
You get it. And they're smart dogs, naturally. So training them for police work, they take to it well. Oh, yeah. They're quick learners, eager to please, can handle all sorts of tasks. Tracking, apprehension, even just being a reassuring presence when things are tense.
That's wild. But okay, hold on. When I first heard this, I imagined these huge dogs barely fitting into a cop car. How does that even work?
Wow.
Do they have like special cars for them?
It's not like every Cane Corso is huge,
All right,
right?
that's a good point, I guess.
And breeders who work with the police know what they're looking for. So they'll choose dogs that are smart, have a good temperament, and are the right size. Plus, even big Cane Corsos can be trained to get into tight spaces if you need them to. It's more about matching the dog to the job.
So it's not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It's about thinking, where do the strengths of this dog work best?
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine crowd control. A Cane Corso just being there can do a lot to keep things calm.
Makes sense.
What might seem like a problem their size is actually a huge advantage in those situations.
It's like a built-in deterrent just from them existing.
Yeah.
But we can't just expect them to understand how to be a police dog right away, can we?
Definitely not. Their natural abilities are just the beginning. We're talking serious training here, much more than just teaching them to sit and stay.
Okay, so what all goes into that? What does training a future canine officer look like?
It's all about fine-tuning what they're already good at. They have great noses, right? So a lot of it is teaching them to use those noses to track missing people, whatever they need to find.
So it's like, they're already good at this, now let's make you great at it.
Yeah. Then there's protection work. Cane Corsos are naturally protective, but we need to teach them to control that. They need to know when to respond and when to hold back.
And only when their handler tells them to, right?
Right. And making sure they're never using more force than they need to. It's a tough balance, but super important.
So it's like a lot goes into making sure they're working with the law, not just from instinct.
And that's why not every Cane Corso can do it, even if they have the right temperament and everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. It takes a special dog, that's for sure. And then on top of all that, what about just being out with people? How do you socialize them for that?
Oh, socialization is so important. And we're talking about constantly introducing them to different places and experiences.
I bet.
Crowds, loud noises, sudden movements. They got to be okay with all of it.
Yeah, because you can't exactly plan for everything that's going to happen out on patrol.
And it's not just about getting them used to chaos. It's about teaching them to stay focused on their handler no matter what's going on.
Oh, that's a good point.
They need to know the difference between a jogger and a threat, a lost wallet and a weapon. That takes a lot of time and patience to teach.
Wow, so you're basically fine-tuning every sense, every instinct.
Yeah.
That's got to be expensive.
It is, yeah. This kind of training takes months, sometimes years, and that's just to get them started. Then you've got ongoing training, vet care, food, all of it.
That's a real commitment, not just having the dog, but supporting it for its whole career.
Exactly, and that's something police departments really have to think about. Can they afford to give these dogs what they need?
Right, because it's about the dog, but also the people they're supposed to be protecting.
For sure. You want to make sure the dog can succeed, and that means giving them the right support.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've talked training, logistics, money. But what about the dog itself? Is there a certain kind of Cane Corso that's best suited to be a police dog? So it really boils down to, is this the right dog for this job?
Yeah, and that's really important with Cane Corsos. Even more than with some other breeds, you really need the right temperament.
Because you can train them on the specifics, but you can't train personality.
Exactly. You need a dog that's brave, but can control themselves, confident, but not, too pushy, protective, obviously, but not aggressive just because.
It's like trying to find a unicorn. How do you even know a dog has that in them?
That's where good breeders come in. The ones who breed dogs for this kind of work, they get it.
So they're not just looking at, does this dog look impressive?
Nope. They're looking at the dog's personality, their nerves, whether they're naturally inclined towards this kind of work. It all starts there.
And then all that intense training we talked about comes after.
Exactly. It builds on what's already there. And this whole thing about Cane Corsos being police dogs, it makes you think about how we see working dogs in general.
How so?
Well, we tend to focus on what certain breeds are supposed to be good at, which is important, but...
But you can't just stick a dog in a box because of its breed.
Right. You could have two Cane Corsos from the same litter, and they could be totally different.
Oh, I bet.
One's perfect for police work, the other would rather just be a family dog.
That makes sense. It's like saying all people with blonde hair are good at, I don't know, something. Doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. And realizing that each dog is different, that's how you figure out the right job for them. Not every Cane Corso will be a police dog, and that's fine. They can do search and rescue, therapy work.
Or just be a really great pet.
Exactly. There's so many possibilities.
I like that. So it's about celebrating what makes them unique and finding where they fit best. So going back to that first question, can a Cane Corso be a police dog?
It's not a simple answer, is it?
It sounds like a lot goes into it.
It does. They have the potential. They're smart, strong, protective, but you have to think about it carefully. Breeding, training, their personality, making sure they've got the support they need.
It's almost like a perfect storm of things coming together.
In a way, yeah. It's about finding the right dog with the right personality, who gets the right training, and is put in the right environment.
Wow. A lot to think about.
It's what makes this whole topic so interesting, though, right? You've got genetics, training, personality.
Yeah, it definitely makes you appreciate those dogs and all the work that goes into letting them do what they do.
For sure.
So for our listeners who are now super interested in Cane Corsos, what's the one thing you want them to remember from all of this?
Don't judge a book by its cover. Or I guess in this case, don't judge a dog by its breed. Cane Corsos are amazing dogs. They've got a cool history and they can do so much, whether it's work or being a companion or anything in between.
Well said. And that's a great place to wrap things up, I think. If a Cane Corso's looks aren't enough to deter criminals on the streets, where else could their strength, intelligence, and loyalty be put to good use? So many possibilities to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep those brains engaged and keep those questions coming. So it really boils down to, is this the right dog for this job?
Yeah, and that's really important with Cane Corsos, even more than with some other breeds. You really need the right temperament.
Because you can train them on the specifics, but you can't train personality.
You got it. We're talking about courage and self-control. You want a dog that's confident, but not overly assertive, but protective, but not, aggressive just for the sake of it.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. How do you even know what dog has that in them?
That's where ethical breeders come in. They really understand the demands of police work, and they breed dogs specifically for these qualities.
So they're not just looking at, does this dog look impressive?
Nope. They're looking at personality, their nerves. Are they naturally inclined towards this kind of work? It all starts there.
And then all that intense training comes in.
Yeah, building on what's already there. And this whole thing about Cane Corsos being police dogs, it makes you think about how we see working dogs in general.
How so?
We tend to get stuck on what certain breeds are supposed to be good at, which, okay, it's important, but...
But every dog is different, right? You can't just put them in a box.
Exactly. Even two Cane Corsos from the same litter.
Could be total opposites.
Totally. One might be perfect for police work, the other's happy just being a family dog.
That makes sense. It's like saying all people with blonde hair are good at, I don't know, something. Doesn't really work that way.
Exactly. And realizing each dog is different, that's how you figure out the right job for them. Not every Cane Corso will be a police dog, and that's okay. There are so many other things they can do. Search and rescue, therapy work.
Or just being an awesome pet.
Right. So many possibilities.
I like that, finding where they fit best.
Yeah.
So back to that first question. Can a Cane Corso cut it as a police dog? I'm guessing it's not a simple answer.
It's definitely not a simple yes or no. They have the potential, right? They're smart, they're strong, they're protective.
But it's complicated.
It is. Breeding, training, their temperament, making sure they have the support they need. It all matters.
So much goes into it.
It really does. You need the right dog with the right personality who gets the right training and is put in the right environment. It's about finding that perfect match.
It's really amazing when you think about it.
It is. It's what makes this whole topic so fascinating. You've got genetics, training, personality, all these factors.
Yeah, you really start to appreciate those dogs and the people who train them. all the work that goes into it. So, for our listeners who are now Cane Corso converts, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
I'd say don't judge a book by its cover or a dog by its breed, right? Cane Corsos are incredible dogs. They've got this amazing history, and they're capable of so much, whether it's work, companionship, you name it.
Well said. That's a great point to end on, I think. So if a Cane Corso isn't out there deterring criminals with their looks, where else could those amazing qualities, their strength, their intelligence, their loyalty, where else could those shine? Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time. Keep those brains engaged and keep those questions coming.